I pretended to be a poor mother, but what I discovered about my daughter-in-law's family was AMA. Clara's heart raced as she stared at the glittering facade of the Simmons mansion, a stark contrast to her cramped apartment filled with old furniture. What am I doing here, she thought, clenching her faded jeans in a nervous grip. Jake was dating the daughter of this opulent family, and it felt as if her world was crumbling. The snickers from the townsfolk echoed in her mind. Just a waitress, just a cashier. But Clara wasn't here to be pitied, she was on a mission. Every night of her double shifts, she plotted her infiltration. Jake had never once expressed doubt about Emma's love for him, but Clara felt a tight knot of despair. Wealth made people different, or so her instincts screamed. Would his heart remain with us, or would gold lure him away, she thought, the dread settling like a weight in her chest. She shuddered, her determination faltering for a moment. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Deep breaths. Clara told herself to breathe. This was just an act. She would adapt to this new role, observing Emma from the inside. The parties were vibrant, filled with laughter and energy that prickled her skin, yet there she felt an unseen barrier, as though the laughter mocked her presence. No one knew her struggle, her sacrifice. Wealth draped around these people like a silk handkerchief over dirt, elegant yet concealing. As she forced herself into conversations, Clara felt the facade extending its embrace. She was a poor mother, trying to make it work. Amidst all the luxury, she discovered Emma's precarious burden of excessive expectations pinned to her like unwanted accolades. Clara's internal fires raged. Was she really a mentor to this girl, so shrouded in privilege? Or was she merely a spy, hiding behind fake smiles? For every secret she unearthed, an echo of shame slapped back. The pressure built. How many lies was she comfortable telling? Every day, she felt tugged between exposing Emma for Jake's sake and the guilt of betraying the fragile friendship that bloomed out of shared vulnerability. As nights filled with whispered confessions continued, she caught glimpses of Emma's longing for a life unscripted, a life free from the shimmering chains of wealth. Clara marveled, despite herself, at how they mirrored each other's struggles. But shadows lurked, glimpses of family secrets slipped into her thoughts unbidden. Could Emma ever love someone like Jake, or was she just a distraction in their world? Clara questioned herself, the unease climbing higher. The air thickened with doubt. The final stretch would decide everything. Was she stalwart enough to voice her fears? Or would she falter, colliding with the revelation of interwoven destinies that threatened to shatter everything she held dear? Clara stood on the precipice, emotions tangled, visions colliding: a mother's love versus a family's expectations. Tonight, the walls would shake, and every secret long buried might slip free. Clara stepped into the opulent dining room, where grand chandeliers hung like a constellation of diamonds, casting a glow on the table laden with delicate china and lavish spreads. The symphony of clinking cutlery and laughter enveloped her as she moved through the juxtaposition of wealth and the burdens she carried. She was just a ghost in this lavish setting, a cheap fabric amidst silks. The room was alive, yet she felt suspended in a void where laughter morphed into teasing whispers about those who didn't belong. Her hands trembled slightly, a reminder of the weight she bore, her mission tangled with genuine concern for Jake. She needed to find out if Emma was the right person for him, but intertwined with that was a burgeoning awareness of her relationship with the young woman. Clara was no longer merely an observer, she had crossed a line into the fragile territory of camaraderie. Moments after seating herself, Clara caught sight of Emma, radiant despite the pressure of her family's expectations weighing on her shoulders. Each smile from her lit up the room yet felt incomplete, as if she were playing a role scripted for her. Wouldn't she like to break free? The notion stung, Clara's heart softened. Was their struggle, her fear of losing Jake versus Emma's stifling life of privilege, so distinct after all? Clara's internal conflict intensified. As she listened to conversation swirls, she felt trapped by her mission, her instincts clawing at her to act, to protect, but she hesitated. Was she truly willing to ruin the trust Emma had inadvertently placed in her? Drawing away from the raucous laughter around her, she put aside her earlier thoughts, choosing instead to focus on being there for Jake. She excused herself from the table and stepped outside, taking deep breaths through the cool evening air. The starry sky stretched endlessly above her, a stark contrast to the confines of the mansion. It was beautiful, yet suffocating to stare into. Loneliness seeped into her bones. Suddenly fueled by a surge of clarity, Clara realized this facade needed to evolve. She could be a tactician in this playing field of emotional chess. Information could be weaponized, and she could gather it without destroying relationships along the way. Looking around, she found herself suddenly empathetic toward those born into privilege, realizing they were often prisoners of expectations. Clara shifted her approach. Rather than drilling down for harmful secrets, she would attend to Emma's unvoiced needs. Perhaps she could help guide her while simultaneously protecting Jake from the pitfalls of illusions. Returning inside, Clara returned to the table with renewed purpose. She engaged with Emma directly, carefully navigating conversations toward her dreams and aspirations. Each question opened a window to Emma's life, revealing more than Clara had anticipated. The young woman spoke of wanting to roam free, to know life beyond the mansion walls, her voice tinged with an undertow of longing. Clara felt a rush of determination. This was her chance to not only understand Emma but to really be of assistance, to connect on a deeper level. If Emma could trust her, perhaps she would confide in Clara, allowing her to gauge whether Jake and Emma had what it took to weather the storm of family expectations. Their conversation flowed, uncovering layers neither had expected to share. But as Clara left dinner that night, a sliver of doubt crept in. Could her path forward also mean letting go of her toxic fears, asking herself whether her instincts of protective love clashed with the journey of budding friendship? Realizing she was no longer sure of the secrets she wanted to keep or uncover sent shivers down her spine. Tomorrow, she would need to confront her resolve. It was time to see where Clara's intentions truly lay. Could she balance the worlds of love and loyalty without losing sight of her own dreams? She was standing at the edge of a deeper abyss than she could have imagined. Little did she know, the answers would challenge her assumptions in ways that could fracture or fortify her spirit. Would she be ready for what lay ahead? Clara woke up the next morning with a sense of urgency thrumming in her veins. The cool light streaming through her window was unforgiving, shining a spotlight on the tangled emotions that she initially tried to push aside. Last night had unraveled something within her. A blend of empathy and ambition ignited a fire she hadn't expected to feel this early in the day. As she prepared a simple breakfast, her mind raced. The conversation with Emma lingered like a haunting melody. The vivid expressions crossing Emma's face while sharing her dreams had stirred Clara's own yearning for something greater. Could she reclaim her own ambitions while helping guide someone through their struggles? The thought was as tantalizing as it was daunting. She picked up her phone, hovering over Jake's contact. The desire to call and share her newfound perspective flickered but was quickly suppressed by a fear of being misinterpreted. Was Jake expecting her to be objective, a mere facilitator in his pursuit of love, or was there a deeper connection forming? This split left her pinched and hazy in her thoughts, unsure of which role she ought to embrace. Determined to move forward, she grabbed her notepad, an outdated method, but tactile and grounding. Writing helped dispel confusion and articulate her swirling thoughts. In beautiful handwriting, she jotted down her goals: help Emma find her voice, support Jake but remain aware of my own aspirations, gather insights without manipulations. The quivering line of her pen captured not only her intent but also the weight of her desire for growth alongside her friends. With each stroke, Clara realized she no longer wanted to linger in the shadows of others. It was time to step into the light of her own ambitions. Later that day, Clara felt herself propelled towards Emma's family estate, a decision born from her clarion call to stop wavering between friendship and responsibility. If Emma was a prisoner of privilege, perhaps Clara could be her unexpected ally. She imagined their conversations unfurling like the blossoms she used to nurture in her mother's garden, a delicate balance of support and exploration. As Clara drove through the gated neighborhood, a knot formed in her stomach. The mansion loomed like a behemoth, grandeur and expectations swirling around it. But so did Clara's commitment to forge a new path. She parked and took a deep breath, centering herself. She wouldn't shy away from the challenges the day might hold. Emma greeted her warmly, an eager smile breaking through the tension of their last encounter. They ventured into the expansive backyard, the afternoon sun warm on their skin, illuminating the garden where Emma had once shyly confessed her dreams. Clara seized the moment and turned their conversation into a deeper dialogue. "Have you thought more about what life outside these walls looks like?" Clara asked, her tone genuine yet firm. Emma's eyes sparkled, a fleeting glimpse of enthusiasm dissipated as shadows of doubt flickered beneath her radiant surface. "Sometimes, I feel guilty for wanting more. It's hard to explain." Clara felt her heart race as she realized this was the crux of it, the dual struggle for freedom entangled with the weight of familial expectations. She leaned in, listening intently. Emma began to unfold her feelings, her voice wavering with uncertainty, yet imbued with a semblance of hope. What emerged was a tapestry of shared desires and sacrifices, illuminating Clara's own longing to bridge the gap between obligation and ambition. For every secret Emma divulged, Clara found pieces of herself reflected in the girl's longing. Her fears, her aspirations clashed and blended into an intricate pattern of understanding. But just at that moment, the gradual unfolding of their dialogue was interrupted. A familiar voice called from the distance, slicing through the intimate atmosphere and reminding Clara of the storm that could still envelop them. "Emma. We need to talk." It was Emma's mother, a figure of authority formidable enough to shatter moments of vulnerability. Clara's stomach dropped as questions swirled around her mind. Would this conversation she had ignited be fueled or extinguished as Emma faced the expectations bearing down from her family? Would her own position outside the dynamics of the family allow her to help or simply awaken the storm? The stakes shifted in an instant. Clara stood in that tense space, the key to Emma's potential liberation hanging precariously in the balance. Now, she would have to confront not just the weight of friendship but the unsettling embodiment of familial power looming behind them. With resolve stiffening her spine, Clara took a step forward. The time had come to face the situation, embracing the chaos that could either empower or suffocate their burgeoning connection. Clara's breath caught in her throat as she turned to face Emma's mother, an imposing figure against the sunlit backdrop of the garden. The woman's presence was an unexpected jolt to the intimacy Clara had hoped to cultivate with Emma. She had anticipated challenges, but this confrontation with authority heightened the urgency of the moment. "Can you excuse us for a moment, Clara?" Emma's mother commanded, her tone bordering on patronizing. Clara felt the implications of that request slam against her, a subtle reminder of her outsider status, yet that very separation ignited something within her. It was time to draw a line between being supportive and being a mere spectator. "Actually, I think it's important that I stay," Clara responded, her voice steadier than she felt. The words hung in the air, a challenge wrapped in a facade of reassurance. She could sense Emma's apprehension, the conflict washing over her like a tide threatening to pull her under. Emma's mother arched an eyebrow. "This is a private family matter, Clara." Clara could have retreated, but instead, an impulse flared. "Isn't that exactly the point? Emma is at a crossroads, and the truth deserves acknowledgement. You can't simply impose restrictions without hearing what she has to say." The air thickened, charged with the palpable energy of unspoken truths and trembling desires. Emma stood between them, caught in the crossfire, her ambivalence evident in the shifting shadows across her features. Clara's heart raced, recognizing the power dynamics at play. Emma had been wrapped in the cocoon of her family's expectations, and Clara had stepped forward to provide a lifeline. For a moment, silence enveloped the trio like a heavy fog. Emma's mother crossed her arms, her disapproval clear. "And what do you know about family obligations?" she snapped, her voice slicing through the tension. Clara's mind raced. Perhaps this was not just about Emma, perhaps this was an opportunity for her own growth. She recognized the fear brimming beneath the surface, fear of failure, of mediocrity, even of anger. But it was no longer about her insecurities. I understand more than you think, Clara replied, her words bold and cutting. We aren't just products of our environment, we have choices that can redefine our paths. Emma's gaze flitted between them, caught in a whirlwind. Mom, I want to figure this out, she interjected, her voice wavering, but determined. Clara recognized the spark igniting in Emma, the very essence of her desire for autonomy. Then why not allow her to explore? Clara pushed, not backing down. You're suffocating her dreams with the weight of your expectations. The moment hung suspended, a fragile balance between liberation and repression. Slowly, the rigidity in Emma's mother's posture softened, though her expression remained stern. Clara could sense the tug-of-war igniting in Emma, her mother's words clashing with the budding resolution Clara had nurtured in her friend. And then, the unexpected happened. Emma exhaled deeply, a rush of courage surging through her. I need to tell you both what I want. In that instant, Clara felt a jolt of adrenaline. Had this invoked the change she so desperately wanted for Emma? Would this confrontation elevate Emma from the shadows of conformity, empower her to claim her voice, finally shattering the illusion of obligation? Emma turned to her mother, determination etched onto her face. I won't let anyone decide my future for me. Clara's heart soared with pride as she stood beside Emma, realizing that in helping her friend find her voice, she too was asserting her own. Those silent, stifling anxieties began to peel away, revealing the emerging layers of her identity. Yet, as resolute as Emma seemed, Clara understood that this was merely the beginning. The real battle was yet to come, not only with Emma's mother but also within Emma herself. What would the fallout be? Would they weather the storm together, or would this rift crack them open in irreparable ways? The uncharted complexities of their friendship loomed ahead, shrouded in uncertainty. As Clara absorbed the electric atmosphere, she knew they weren't merely negotiating familial bonds, they were crafting new dreams. Yet, the pathway forward remained fraught with peril, raising the stakes higher than ever before. How far Emma was willing to go would determine not only her future but also the strength of Clara's convictions. As scrutiny hung in the air, Clara sought a deeper understanding of both herself and her friend, preparing for whatever tempest lay ahead. The moment lingered, suffused with possibilities that both exhilarated and terrified Clara. Emma's declaration had shattered a long-held expectation, yet the uncertainty of what came next clung to the air like remnants of a summer storm. Clara sensed the space between Emma and her mother still pulsed with tension, each heartbeat a reminder of the stakes at hand. What do you think you want, Emma? Mrs. Hart's voice trembled, laced with disbelief and a hint of fear. Clara watched Emma squirm under her mother's gaze, the fierce exterior warring with the vulnerable girl she knew so well. How could she ensure that Emma didn't backtrack into the shadows? Taking a deep breath, Clara stepped a little closer to Emma, grounding her presence as an essential anchor. You don't have to rush it. Just speak from your heart. What if your dreams were entirely your own? What would they look like? She felt the weight of her own words, a reflection of her ongoing internal struggle. Clara understood the intimidation of ambition, the fear of pursuing something undefined. Emma hesitated, her eyes darting between Clara and her mother. I want to study art, not law, she finally admitted, her voice barely above a whisper, yet it echoed around them, heavy with conviction. I love painting, and I want to share that with the world. The declaration hung there, suspended in the heavy air, as if transforming into a tangible entity. Clara felt a surge of triumph, yet it was underscored by an urgency to fortify this burgeoning revelation. And you have every right to pursue that dream. Your passion is valuable, she reaffirmed, her voice steady, hoping to embolden Emma against the storm that was surely brewing. Emma's mother let out a sharp laugh, a bark devoid of humor. Art? You think that's a real career? You'll end up disappointed and struggling. Her voice crescendoed, shaking the ground beneath them, and Clara felt Emma waver, the dream suddenly teetering on the edge of uncertainty. Mom, please. Emma's eyes watered, her voice cracking. Clara wanted to lunge forward, to shield Emma from that verbal onslaught. Still, she reminded herself that it was crucial for Emma to confront her mother, to face the tempest instead of capitulating. But how much could one person endure? Disappointment can come from not trying, too, you know, Clara mused, cautious yet ready to rebound. And what is a real career? Isn't it about passion and fulfillment? The clash of ideals ignited within her a professional pursuit not dictated by societal norms but rather by the essence of the individual. Emma turned to face her mother. I would rather risk misplacing my hope in something I love than follow a path that leads to a life unlived. The defiance in Emma's voice felt like a spark that might incinerate the barriers between them. Clara looked at Emma's mother. She could sense the erosion of her ironclad stance. Was the maternal figure starting to grasp the depths of her daughter's plea? Would she concede this fight, or double down in defensive fury? The potential regrets and ramifications stretched out like splintered branches against the evening sky, intertwining their futures. Power surged through Clara as she navigated this precarious terrain. Perhaps this was the moment she had longed for, not merely to support Emma, but to claim her own standing in a world marred by expectations. She realized that her own anxieties about facing the unknown echoed Emma's struggle. While she'd argued passionately for Emma's desires, she'd also been wrestling with her own journey, learning to chase her ambitions without the burden of approval. Suddenly, Clara had an idea. Art had always been Emma's escape. What if Clara facilitated a space for Emma to explore her talent? What if we start an art project together? Something that reflects your vision? The suggestion floated in the air, a tentatively bright note amidst surrounding shadows. Emma's eyes widened, and Clara felt the wall between them begin to shift subtly. Would this shared endeavor ignite a deeper understanding and resilience in both of them? As the tension simmered and the dynamics continued to shift, Clara's heart raced. She could sense that this was not merely about Emma's dreams or her mother's expectations, it was an awakening for them both. However, Clara knew navigating this uncharted territory would be fraught with complications. What would be the reaction once they took actions to support those dreams? The realities of their choices loomed ominously ahead, and Clara felt that they were standing at the precipice of something transformative. Yet, as the moments swirled with hope and trepidation, Clara grasped the enormity of the task before them. Would they muster the courage to pursue their paths, or would fear outpace their resolve? The answer remained tantalizingly out of reach, a question waiting for them just as the night began to close in around them. The next morning, Clara woke with a resolute heaviness clinging to her consciousness. The gravity of Emma's revelation and their shared venture loomed like dark clouds on the horizon. So much hinged on how Mrs. Hart would react to their project. Clara had contemplated potential scenarios throughout the night, visualizing Emma's mother's responses as a chess game, each move potentially critical. At the breakfast table, Clara studied Emma, who was pushing food around her plate with absent-minded precision. Clara's heart ached for her friend. She decided to break the silence, risking vulnerability in hopes of bolstering Emma's waning spirit. What are you thinking about the project? Clara's voice was light, but she nudged cautiously, attuned to Emma's mood. It feels big, Emma responded quietly, her brow furrowed. What if it doesn't live up to expectations? What if my own mother thinks it's just a whimsical distraction? Emma's eyes darted, betraying a cocktail of excitement and anxiety that mirrored Clara's own feelings. Then we'll redefine expectations together, Clara urged, a spark igniting within her. Art exists beyond the confines of anyone's opinions. What if this is our chance to understand ourselves better? Emma's gaze sharpened slightly, the initial doubt receding as a glimmer of conviction resurfaced. Okay, I can work with that. The small smile twinged at the corners of her lips, and Clara felt a surge of pride for her friend. This began to feel less like a fleeting act of rebellion and more like a significant shift in both their lives. As they spent the afternoon sorting through paints and canvases in Clara's sun-drenched living room, an unexpected calm settled between them. In this shared vulnerability, Clara could feel Emma's passion bloom, the atmosphere thick with color and potential. With each stroke of the brush, Emma seemed more alive, shedding layers of doubt much like the paint on the canvas. Conversations flowed like the vibrant hues on the palette, questions about their influences, inspirations, and dreams ignited from mere curiosity to a deeper introspection. Yet, in the back of her mind, Clara remained aware of the impending confrontation with Mrs. Hart. What would happen when they unveiled their canvas, a piece born of courage and conviction? Later in the day, Clara placed a call to Emma's mother. Clutching the phone tightly, she could feel her heart racing. The intention was to soften the ground before sharing Emma's new passion. "Hi, Mrs. Hart, I wanted to discuss something with you," Clara began, her voice steady yet strained. "Emma and I are working on something meaningful together." "What, that art nonsense?" Mrs. Hart reiterated, her tone bitterly dismissive. "I hope she'd grow out of it. You're only encouraging her foolishness. What you're doing is enabling a dead end." Clara's breath hitched, her body tightening with suppressed frustration. She had entered this conversation hopeful, now she was faced with the very kind of resistance she feared. "It's crucial that Emma has the space to explore her creativity," Clara replied, though her confidence faltered against Mrs. Hart's wall of judgment. "She needs to focus on what's practical, not waste her time on delusions." Doubt threatened to swallow Clara whole. Could Emma withstand this storm, or would her newfound courage shatter? After ending the call, Clara sank onto her couch, ruminating on the bitterness of maternal pressure. Not only was Emma's journey precarious, but Clara's own position in this battle felt increasingly fraught with uncertainty. She dropped her head into her hands, grappling with the demons of feeling powerless. But in that moment of solitude, Clara felt a tiny flicker of determination reignite. This wasn't just about Emma's artistic aspirations, it was a stand against the constraints of expectations, including her own. As she straightened, she resolved that their art would be a manifestation of defiance. No longer just a coping mechanism, it would now be a testament to their pursuit of truth. The following day would mark their first public unveiling of their collaboration at a local community gallery. The haunting uncertainty of the gathering loomed, but so did opportunity. What if this was the moment that would shift their realities both for Emma and for Clara? The tension knotted within Clara. Everything felt precariously poised for impact, both triumph and turmoil awaited on the other side of that canvas. With nightfall enveloping them, Clara knew they had crossed into new territory. Would their passion resonate with others, or would judgment extinguish their flames before they ever had a chance to burn? As she drifted to sleep, questions hung in the air like a thick fog, surrounding her with both dread and determination. Clara awoke the next morning with purpose carved into her bones. The weight of the previous day's challenges still thrummed in her chest, yet there was an electric current threading through her mind, pushing her beyond the worries of expectations. She focused on the day ahead, a day that could redefine everything. As she prepared for the unveiling, Clara unearthed her sketchbook, flipping through the pages filled with chaotic ideas and sketches. Each drawing captured moments, her fears, her dreams, flashes of intense colors that seemed to scream against the blank spaces of life. Beyond the chaotic strokes, she recognized an anchor, a vision slowly taking form, one that even she had not fully grasped until now. This art project represented more than rebellion, it was a clarion call for authenticity, a reclamation of identity. "Are you ready for today?" Emma's voice startled her from her reverie. Clara looked up to find her friend standing in the doorway, the light from outside framing her with an ethereal glow. Despite the morning's chill, a spark of warmth radiated between them, reaffirming their purpose. "I'm getting there," Clara replied, giving Emma an encouraging nod. They were in this together, facing the storm looming ahead. Standing side by side, they could conjure a fortress as resilient as the art they had created. At the community gallery, Clara felt that electric current intensify, igniting her determination. The space, filled with vibrant works from various artists, buzzed with activity, encapsulating an energy that danced between excitement and tension. She could see people milling around, engaging in earnest discussions about art. In that swirling crowd, fear slipped through her fingers, replaced by the thrill of shared experience. Emma's palms were sweaty against the wood of their easel, her nervously shifting eyes darting around the room. Clara sensed her apprehension and moved closer, anchoring their combined energy. "Remember what we talked about," Clara whispered, "this isn't just about what others think. This is our chance to express who we are." As they unveiled their work, Clara's heart raced. It felt as if time suspended in that very moment. The canvas revealed layers of abstract colors that reflected their mixed emotions, their struggles, and the beauty they found in each other's company. Vibrant reds landed alongside calming blues, each stroke narrating a part of their journey. It was a testament not only of art but also of sisterhood, of resilience, of the pursuit of passion amid judgment. The reactions were immediate. Whispers moved through the gallery, a blend of intrigue and skepticism balanced on the edge of appreciation. Clara's stomach churned, but she caught Emma's gaze. The warmth radiating back gave her confidence, and suddenly, Clara became a spokesperson, guiding them through the narrative inherent in their artwork. The potency of her words transformed her fear into clarity, pulling Emma along into the light. This wasn't the end of their journey, this was just the opening act, a springboard into a deeper exploration of self. Clara reveled in the dialogue that burgeoned, watching as the audience shifted from skepticism to curiosity, engagement blossoming like the colors on the canvas. But just as Clara began to feel their narrative take hold, a familiar figure entered the gallery, her heart sinking at the poised figure of Mrs. Hart. Clara's confidence wobbled as she locked eyes with Emma's mother, whose expression was a mixture of disdain and disbelief. Just behind her, Clara could see the lines of judgment beginning to form, the tension palpable. Clara could hear her heart racing again, adrenaline pushing her forward. This was at the confrontation they both had braced for. Would Mrs. Hart's arrival shatter their moment, or could Clara channel this brewing storm into the defiance she had promised? The air crackled with unresolved tension as Mrs. Hart moved closer, the weight of her scrutiny igniting a fierce resolve within Clara. The moment of truth was upon them, both Emma's journey and Clara's own resolve teetering on the edge. What would happen when Mrs. Hart confronted them, questioning their choices and the legitimacy of their art? Clara's mind spun. The answer might redefine the lines of trust not only between them but through the relationships they had so carefully navigated. Clara's breath hitched as Mrs. Hart's polished shoes clacked on the wooden floor, each step a countdown to the exchange she had fervently hoped to avoid. The vibrant gallery, once a cradle of her creativity, transformed into a battleground for her self-worth. Emma's mother loomed before them, her eyes casting an oppressive silence upon the colorful chaos of Clara and Emma's collective expression. Is this it? Mrs. Hart's voice sliced through the buzz, a cold criticism laced with doubt. Is this what you've dedicated your time to? Her arms crossed defiantly, positioning herself as the arbiter of taste and expectation. Clara felt her heart plummet. She had expected scrutiny, but not this personal disapproval. However, instead of shrinking under the weight of Mrs. Hart's disdain, a flicker of defiance ignited within Clara. She stood taller, channeling the spirit of her artwork, a tapestry of resilience forged through her passion. This is who we are, she asserted, her voice steady despite the tremor of anxiety clawing at her resolve. Every color tells a story of struggle, hope, and truth. Mrs. Hart's arched eyebrow barely masked her disbelief. You think you can redefine art? This is merely a cacophony of chaos. The challenge hung in the air, thickening the tension that had already formed between them. Clara's mind raced, battling thoughts of inadequacy and fear of failure, but her resolve only deepened. She looked to Emma, whose wide eyes reflected a mixture of fear and encouragement. Clara realized that this confrontation wasn't solely about defending their work, it was a crucible moment that could either strengthen their bond or fracture it. Every fiber of her being screamed to protect not just their art, but their dreams. In this moment, she recognized the weight of expectation, not just from Mrs. Hart, but the pressures she had placed upon herself. Art is subjective, Clara continued, her voice rising with conviction. It is a reaction to life, to our experiences. We express our reality, not to please everyone, but to be true to ourselves. Isn't that what you taught Emma? The challenge to Mrs. Hart was firm yet laden with vulnerability. Clara's heart hammered in her chest as she held Mrs. Hart's piercing gaze, searching for a crack in her stoic facade. Mrs. Hart paused for a moment, clearly taken aback by Clara's boldness. Clara felt the second stretch, uncertainty threatening to seep back in. Then, without breaking eye contact, she asked, "What are you afraid of, Clara?" The question hung in the air like a beacon, illuminating her internal chaos. Clara's instinct was to respond defensively, but instead, she took a breath, steeling herself to confront the truth. "I fear not being enough," she admitted, her voice quieter but full of determination. "Enough for myself, for Emma, for what we stand for." There it was, a fissure in her mask as vulnerability rushed in like a tide. Mrs. Hart's expression softened, curiosity fluttering across her features. For a moment, the room stood still, their heartbeats seeming to echo in unison, unraveling the distance that separated them. Yet just as the air shifted towards understanding, the gallery's murmurs crescendoed as another figure emerged from the crowd, one Clara had not anticipated. The surprise was like ice water poured into her veins. It was Mark, Emma's brother, standing at the entrance with his arms crossed, a knowing smile playing on his lips. "Looks like I arrived just in time," he announced, drawing the attention away from Clara and Mrs. Hart, but not without suspicion. Clara's heart raced anew. She could instantly sense that his presence complicated the already tangled web between them. Would Mark support the bond Clara had started to forge with Mrs. Hart, or would he exacerbate the tensions? As Clara turned to face Mark, every ounce of her determination sparked with renewed vigor. She was willing to fight for this moment, regardless of the outcome. The orbit of their relationship swirled ominously as they confronted personal demons, each interrogation splitting the air deeper. Clara knew that this was far from over. She would have to navigate through the chaos of family expectations while demonstrating that authenticity was more than just a choice, it was a necessity. The confrontation had only begun, but Clara was no longer afraid. What would this unexpected arrival mean for her growth and her relationship with them all? Who would remain unscathed in this uncharted territory of their lives? Clara felt the weight of Mark's presence like a storm cloud brewing. His arrival was both a distraction and a catalyst, introducing an unpredictable energy that threatened to unravel the fragile thread of understanding she had begun to weave with Mrs. Hart. "I'm glad you're here," she managed, though her voice barely betrayed the quaking nerves beneath her composure. Mark's gaze oscillated between his mother and Clara, assessing the tension that charged the air. "Everything okay?" he asked, but the inflection in his tone suggested he already grasped that okay was a distant notion. Clara could see the wheels turning in his mind, questioning the depth of the confrontation. "Actually," she began, emboldened by the moment, "we were just discussing what it means for Emma and me to pursue our art." "Right," Mrs. Hart interjected, regaining her footing. "Art that is subjective or not, it has to resonate with an audience, Mark." The challenge was directed at Clara, and once again, she felt the fortress of self-worth climbing higher around her. Mark crossed his arms tighter, the innocent bystander now pulled into the fray. "Mom, can we just let them express themselves?" he said, his tone softer yet firm. Clara's heart flickered. Could he be an ally in this tumultuous exchange? His endorsement of her artistic integrity felt like a lifeline. Mrs. Hart's dismissal was swift. "You have always believed they thrive. But darling, you're supporting a dream built on delusion." The words felt like a personal attack, each syllable a reminder of how far Clara had to go to earn respect in this sphere. "Delusion?" Clara's voice broke slightly, anger and hurt tangling. "It's not delusional to aim high, to express ourselves. Isn't that what you've pushed on Emma? To strive for authenticity?" In the small suffocating space of countercharged emotions, Clara noticed the crack in Mrs. Hart's polished armor. Her glossy composure wobbled a fraction, revealing a glimpse of the mother torn between tradition and new generations. Mark seemed to sense the shift as well, and he stepped closer to Clara, a quiet sign of solidarity. "What's wrong with a little chaos?" he added, much to Clara's surprise. "Art isn't meant to be just beautiful, it should provoke thought, stir emotion. And frankly, who's to say what resonates?" "Mom?" Clara's heart swelled at Mark's defense but also twisted with dread. While their mother-son dynamic flared, Clara recognized her opportunity. She had battled an avalanche of self-doubt internally, but fueled by support, she needed to make her advocacy clear not only for herself but for Emma as well. "Art can be chaotic, it can challenge norms," Clara said, the weight of her words growing with passion. "We live in a world that's not black and white. It's time to embrace the gray parts of life, to explore them freely. That's what this is about for us." with no promise of approval, only the drive to create. Mrs. Hart's brow furrowed, the inevitable maternal instinct to protect Emma warring against the flicker of pride in her daughter's best friend's conviction. Clara saw this as a pivotal moment, a chance to confront the expectations strangling them all, not just as individuals but collectively. Silence fell over the group, thick with unspoken thoughts and emotions. Clara's determination pulsated within her, the realization that this was not just a battle for recognition but for their right to define their narratives. She no longer needed validation from those who may not understand her or Emma's truth. Mark's initial mischievous smile transformed into something more serious. "Mom, when will you see that this might lead to something extraordinary for them? Just give them a chance." As Mrs. Hart's gaze turned toward Mark, Clara wondered where this confrontation would take them. Would Mrs. Hart bend in understanding? Would Mark become the unexpected champion of their cause? The uncertainty buzzed around her, charging the room like a live wire, igniting ideas that begged to be explored, boundaries that could unravel and reshape their relationships. And at that moment, Clara realized this battle was only the beginning. Their next steps could either shatter their expectations or build something resilient. Could vulnerability be the cornerstone of understanding, or would fear cloud the truth from emerging? This realization churned within her, burning with potential, propelling the next phase of her development into uncharted yet exhilarating territory. Clara stood on the precipice of a new chapter, a mixture of anticipation and uncertainty swirling in her chest. The confrontation with Mrs. Hart had lifted the curtains on more than just familial obligations, it illuminated the shackles Clara herself had worn for too long. As she navigated the tension in the gallery, she felt the fog of doubt begin to dissipate. Taking a deep breath, she turned to Emma, who stood with a tentative hope shimmering in her eyes. "We've come this far, it's time to lean into the truth," Clara said resolutely. "This is our moment to show that our art means something." Emma nodded, a newfound spark igniting within her as Clara's confidence poured over her like sunlight after a long winter. "You're right. This isn't just about showing art, it's about declaring who we are." With those words, Clara sensed a shift in their dynamic, a bond cementing through mutual vulnerability and defiance. As Mrs. Hart transitioned from skepticism to contemplation, Clara seized the chance to illuminate their passion further. Art refracts the multifaceted nature of existence. It mirrors joy, pain, and, above all, aspiration. Emma's journey is infused with dreams, and I'm merely a companion in this exploration. The standing room filled with an electrifying energy, and Clara felt her heart resonate. Each word she spoke solidified her own resolve. In that moment of resonance, Mark chimed in, "Mom, look at how they transformed their emotions into something beautiful. If we only focus on convention, we'll never allow true creativity to flourish." Mrs. Hart flinched at the confrontation, but Clara noticed, for the first time, a flicker of curiosity glisten in her eyes. Clara relaxed her shoulders and pressed on, seizing the opportunity. Every stroke of paint on that canvas holds a story. Emma's story. My story. It's a testament to breaking out of imposed limitations, an invitation for us all to look beyond the surface. The gallery buzzed. Clara felt the tide shifting ever so slightly. The once stifling air felt charged with possibility, as if anticipation thickened the atmosphere. "Isn't this what we want for our children?" Clara continued, her voice steady and compelling. "The freedom to explore, to express, and to thrive outside expectations? Isn't that why we push them to dream in the first place?" Caught in this swirl of dialogue, Clara saw Emma's mother process the weight of Clara's arguments, the clash of perception and expectation visibly devolving into potential recognition. She was no longer an adversary but a witness to something transformative. Then, Mrs. Hart finally spoke, her voice softer yet weighed down by the unspoken complexities of love and fear. "But what if she fails? What if it leads her down a path of uncertainty?" The once solid confidence of the matriarch had begun to fracture, her walls crumbling under the weight of maternal instinct. "Failure is part of success," Clara stated, her certainty a clarion call. "But in staying locked in a predetermined path, we deny the beauty of growth. A child learns not through perfection but through experience, through trial and exploration." Mrs. Hart's expression began to shift, the rigidity thawing into a delicate balance of acceptance mixed with fear. Clara felt this shift pulsate through the room, realization resonating as she expressed what she once felt forbidden to voice. The realization that failure could lead to profound growth for Emma illuminated the exchange between mother and daughter, reshaping their relationship before Clara's very eyes. "Perhaps there's merit in what you're saying," Mrs. Hart conceded slowly, the ground between them beginning to mend. "But it's difficult to relinquish control. I just want to protect her." Emboldened by this moment, Clara replied, "Protection should never overshadow the right to pursue one's passions. Emma's art isn't a distraction, it is an essential part of her voice." Clara's heart surged with vindication. This wasn't merely about the pursuit of art but about redefining the paths both Emma and herself could traverse. There, surrounded by the gallery's vibrant hues and intrigued onlookers, Clara found herself not just advocating for Emma but dismantling the very barriers she had erected in her own life. Clara realized she, too, had been caged by what others expected of her, and it was time to redefine her own limits. In what felt like an eternal moment, Mrs. Hart glanced toward Emma, the raw connection forged between them palpable. "You really want this?" she asked, her voice softer now, stripped of authority. "Yes," Emma replied, her own vulnerability shining through. "I want to express who I am, to explore beyond this house. To be an artist." Clara felt a swell of pride as she watched Emma step into her truth, the resolute spirit finally breaking free from the chains of expectation. The room reverberated with more than just their voices, it echoed with the sentiment to embrace passions without constraint, to redefine what success truly meant beyond tangible achievements. As Mrs. Hart nodded slowly, Clara turned to see Mark's approving expression, and the atmosphere within the gallery felt renewed. They weren't merely advocates in their individual journeys. At that moment, they were rallying behind the profound connection of authenticity. Before the evening concluded, Mrs. Hart embraced Emma, the tension that had once festered washing over them like the dawn after a dark night. Clara left the gallery, a lightness draping around her shoulders, a heavy burden lifted. It dawned on her then, as she recalled her own journey from doubt to this newfound conviction, that she had emerged not just as an ally to Emma but as a resolute force in her own right. Clara had dismantled limitations, sparked newfound collaborations, and recognized the importance of pursuing her aspirations alongside those she cared about. Through this process, she transformed significantly, no longer just a passive participant in life's tapestry but an artist shaping her narrative alongside Emma. Clara's continual evolution had not only helped cultivate their friendship, but it had forged a profound understanding of resilience, courage, and growth shared between them. As Clara navigated down the street post-event, the world outside felt vibrant with potential. It was a tangible reminder of how she could own her story, defining her success on her terms, not solely dictated by others. She had accomplished what she set out to do, not just to protect but to elevate. And as she glanced towards the setting sun, Clara resolved to nurture her own aspirations fiercely, unshackled from expectations. The future shimmered brightly ahead, a tapestry of endless possibilities ready to embrace. You need to subscribe now to join Clara and Emma on their journeys of self-discovery and creativity. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm. Comment below your reactions about Clara's transformation and share your thoughts on Emma's journey. And don't wait even one more second, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness the power of overcoming obstacles and pursuing passions.